Okay, Dad, where are we today?
We're in Torre di Palme, the place where I was born, where my parents were born, grandparents, etc. All my history is here.
All right, it's an old medieval town from...
Okay, Torre di Palme, there were settlements here in the 7th century BC. It was conquered by Rome in the 2nd century BC, so it's been kicking around for quite a while. Most of what you see here is the medieval city, which would have been from... There's been a wedding today.
There's a wedding behind
A lot of people come here on the weekends because it's now one of the borghi, the towns, one of the most beautiful towns in Italy. Okay, it was designated this in 2017. But anyway, most of what you see here is the medieval city, which goes back at least 1,000 years or so. Not all the buildings, of course, they've been built more recently, but the town itself is medieval.
Okay, so we're gonna do a little stroll around town here.
Okay.
And where are we starting?
I guess that we can start here because this is essentially where I started in a way. This is my nursery school, and I went here every day. I guess they start them very, very young. It was run by the nuns. Okay, I have photographs of myself with a bunch of my friends here. One of the interesting stories related to this has to do with the fact my dad was in Canada for a while. He had immigrated earlier to find work or whatever to determine whether we would move as well. So anytime he would send us money, of course, for my mother and that, but for me, he would send me all sorts of neat toys. And I would bring them to school to play or whatever, and the nuns would get them and say, oh, how nice this is, you know, because most of the kids didn't have anything after the war. And says, wouldn't it be nice if we just put it up here so all the kids could play with it? So I lost all my toys as we went on. I think I smartened up after a while. Secondly, the other vivid memory that I have is up in that railing up on the 2nd floor, I guess 3rd floor from here, is when my uncle, very close uncle, Filippo, passed away, and he had fallen out of an olive tree. It was during the olive harvest or whatever.
The olive tree is still around.
Right?
We'll
that olive
later.
tree is about 600 or 700 years old, the olive tree. Anyway, he fell out of the tree and sustained internal injuries. By the next morning, he passed away. The funeral procession came from the church in town and out the main road to the funeral home, it's not a far distance to walk. And my head got stuck in those railings looking out because I had to go to school that day. I couldn't go to the funeral. So that's a vivid memory I have. I couldn't get my head back out watching the funeral procession head to the cemetery. And
that was the playground here?
And that's the playground, yeah. We'd hang around there, and all the kids from town would end up going here. Even the views and everything else out here, you can see even from here the views. Well, that's the whole town basically is you get these views of the Adriatic.
Well,
yeah.
Shall we continue now, I guess, into the city?
We'll walk into town. Anyway, yeah, so we're heading into the main street here, which is called Via Piave. There's the sign up there, that's what they have, Via Piave.
And as you can see, I'm just going to do a little 360 here.
Yeah.
These streets are very, very old, as you can tell.
Yeah.
And we might have some people around us. You want to just stop here for a second?
Yeah.
So that's for...
Via dell'Asilo, yes, which is the kindergarten or whatever, nursery school.
Yeah.
And it was actually called that. And I think we used to, actually I haven't been here in so long to see how we would enter. It would have been from
Was this
here.
the entrance?
This would have been the entrance, yeah. See, Scuola Materna, a maternal school, I guess is how they I wonder if it's still operating that way. I don't think so. I don't think there are enough kids. I haven't been through this door in at least 50, 60 years or more.
This is so nice here.
Yeah, all these little niches and enclaves, you know, that you have. And the Madonna is always present. It's a very religious city because this entire region of Italy was part of the Papal States.
Yeah.
Tuscany, Umbria, Le Marche.
There wasn't a lot of change, right? Because the Papal States were owned by the Vatican and not a lot changed.
Yeah.
It didn't change hands that often.
No, it wouldn't.
In more recent
wouldn't.
years.
No, it wouldn't. I mean, it did change hands or whatever, but it was nothing. It was more or less of who was governing the city and who you would have to pay your taxes to or whatever, more than anything else. It wasn't like overrun and...
Yeah.
But now it's become obviously a big tourist mecca, especially since having been designated one of the most beautiful towns in Italy. So you see people any time of the day on the weekdays, especially certainly in the summer. In the winter, of course, there are not very many people.
Yeah.
Except the local residents.
Take a little
So this
quick...
is another view, you know, you walk along. You know, the other thing too is that I still have a lot of relatives that live here. A lot. Okay, the ones that that are left.
You might even bump into a few.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a tour group up
Okay,
here.
there's a whole tour group.
We
I
got
didn't
our
know
own
they had
tour
tour
going
groups.
on right now.
But anyway, this building here, for instance, is owned by, well, it's been recently acquired by some famous Italian personality, which I wasn't aware of. My memory of this, and it may be warped because I was 4 or 5 years old, inside here on the ground floor, I remember seeing boats or something, which is really unusual. Torre di Palme is about 300 feet in elevation, so you wouldn't keep boats here, but
Yeah.
maybe people stored things and then took them down. But now, obviously, it's a 3-story structure, and it's used basically by the Italian celebrity who owns it now. But many of the homes have been purchased by people that are from outside the region. They'll come and spend their summers here or portions of the summer.
Yeah.
We're really only about a 2.5-hour drive or so from Rome. So a lot of, the wealthier people that can afford places like this
Yeah.
will have summer homes here.
Just another view. So you get these views of the Adriatic
Yeah,
all
from
throughout
every-
the town.
And you've got, in every one of the restaurants now is placed in one of the squares, except for the main square that we'll get to in the front. But if you see here, these used to be the local grocery store, or so, the store where you can get anything, because it is pretty far away. So you did have some. Now those are closed now. Okay, but they've turned into tourist shops more than anything. There's the bell. This little town has at least 3 churches. This church here is an ancient church, which goes back. it's so
It's so busy right now.
difficult with it being with the
That's
people.
okay.
Excuse me a second.
Can we go in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here we are at the Church of St. John the Baptist. It was built in the 10th century, which means the 900s. So it's very old. It's 1,100 years old at least. And for the most part, I think it's pretty original. It's very, very basic church. That's how it would have been back then, A number, obviously, some of the things have been changed, but that emblem there at the front, I think, is one of the original. It may have been the original one, right on the altar.
Wow.
That church there. Yeah, and you have the candelabras. Some of these go back a while. They've been glued and anchored to the wall because people have had a habit of taking all sorts of things from them. So we're back into this square. Okay, this is Piazza Risorgimento, the unification of Italy. So that's the square, the name of the square. There's a fountain. Views out to Porto San Giorgio. My cousin lives right there. Cars are not permitted unless you're a resident. You're allowed in. Now, today there are more cars because there was a wedding and there are all sorts of things going on here. That's during the summer that it's limited. See, there goes a car.
I think that was another wedding.
Is that another wedding?
I think it was.
What some people do, actually, from what I've been told, is that they get married, proper service somewhere, and then they'll come up here and do a secondary thing because of the cool nature of the church down there. Restaurant again. My cousin owns this entire building, and my aunt used to work down here at this restaurant, and she lived literally here across the street. You could just hop across. See some of the views, some of the tables in there, all these little ways, and
Already bumping into some people.
yeah, we're trying to avoid them. Otherwise, we have to stop and talk.
That's
to them.
okay.
My cousin, who I have to visit before I leave, lives right here at number 25
This
on
one?
this street. Yes.
Nice.
And there's this entrance from this main street, which is Main Street, and then from here. This is used to be called Dopo Lavoro, after work. But now it's converted to a gelateria. At one point, I think my dad said they may have even had school in here. So it's a covered area where you can have coffee and whatever else you want, as well as just
and our
sitting out on the
aunt
street.
lived right in
And she lives
here
there,
at
yeah.
one of the apartments.
No,
in
this is
here.
her own house. It's not an apartment.
The whole
It's
thing?
just attached. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
See, they put up all photographs of the city itself. There.
I remember going into the apartment in there when we were younger.
Now here,
Really cool.
this is the Church of St. Augustine. Now, legend has it, but it's truth, I guess, is that Martin Luther, on his first trip to Rome, or his only trip in 1511, stopped here because that's how they would travel back then, right? They would stay, he was an Augustinian, and so they would stop at all the different churches or places along the way because there were no hotels. But this church is really unique. The other day we had a service for my dad who passed away a few months ago, and it was done in this beautiful church. Now we're heading down to the more familiar parts for me because this is where my dad lived, where my mother lived, and where I was born, just coming up a couple of, one street over. I shouldn't say a couple, there's only 3 streets in the whole town. This is a pretty one. Everybody stops here to take photographs of the bicycles, the little walkway, all the just a little alleyway. It's well maintained, flowers, just beautiful.
Doesn't really do it justice here with the camera.
Here's
but
another saying here. They go, provaci e se sbaglio, provaci ancora. Try, and if I make a mistake, try again. Anyway, now we're coming up to a small little alleyway that leads to the house where my dad was born and my grandparents lived, and it's down here, and I'll walk to it. I'll just show you. Here. I'll probably be caught for trespassing because I'm on their property or whatever, but anyway, this was the house where my parents and
my grandfather, his dad.
Yeah, and your great-grandfather.
And my great-grandfather. This was their house here.
This was their house, and I can't remember how many bedrooms. Anyway, it's been since purchased. I think we sold it in the 80s or whatever, and some people from Rome bought it. They really redid the whole thing, inside especially, with a nice terrace looking out over the Adriatic, and I think it's recently been resold. Here's the wall of the Church of St. Augustine, and down here, very quickly, my grandfather was in Canada around 1915. He also came in 1925. He had a horse because he used to trade in different commodities, okay? Yeah. And I think the horse was kept in here.
Ciao, di nuovo.
So the horse would be kept in there, and then he had a cart that he would bring chestnuts, coal, etc. He'd go as far as Umbria. He'd be gone for about a week or so at a time because of the distances and the mountains, and then come back here.
Right in there.
This portion here obviously was built later because they originally had views all the way down to the Adriatic.
And you can see what the original shot looked like. This was my grandfather walking with his sister on the way to his wedding. And as you can see, this house here was gone in the original picture.
Okay, so my dad lived there. You just saw the house. You walk literally 10 steps and another 5 steps further down, and you will see where my mother was born and raised with her 6 siblings. So she was one of 7. And this is the main front door.
This
here.
is the house here?
That's the house right there. And it goes up to, well, they had the 2nd floor, which is the house at the time of when my mother was living here and when was born there. So my grandparents on my mother's side lived here, and he did a lot of work. He was involved with the church, maintaining the church itself.
That was
ringing.
Nonno Savino?
Nonno Savino, yes. And he would, in charge of ringing the bells, on the hour. I have great recollections of being brought with him when I was little. I'd be hanging on the cord and I'd be going up and down as the.
Which church?
This church right here, Santa Maria Amare, Saint Mary of the Sea. And this is, as you can see, the 12th, 1300s. There's some really cool frescoes in there that they've discovered and scraped off the walls. This is one of them. You can see it inside.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a wedding going on, whether we could even.
I hear a vacuum.
I think they're vacuuming. So that's the church. That's where my parents were married. Here, sorry. Anyway, those frescoes are over here. The one fresco. But even some of the other paintings, it's pretty awesome that even look at the ceiling and the work. Here's a church built for a small little town like this, but the work. Look at how cool they are. The lamp, the candle holders.
Yeah. Tell us about this.
Well, I don't know that much. This is one of the frescoes. I think they have a little blurb on this one, but I've always found it interesting just for the detail. And you can see that it's been sort of cut out to get down to the original level where the fresco was originally painted. But there's a whole number more up here. That's the old baptismal fountain, I guess, where I would have been baptized, my parents, grandparents, in that one there. That's pretty darn old. And there you can see more frescoes. I mean, pretty awesome when you consider the circumstances, the age of this.
Now, Dad, you were actually an altar boy here.
Right? Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. I have pictures, my mother and I don't know if it was at that confessional or another one. It must have been in here somewhere, maybe in the back.
But here's some of so these are all the frescoes, right, that they've kind of uncovered.
Yes, parts of them. I guess they don't want to damage too much, but I'm always just amazed by it. I just find it fascinating, finding little details. Here's a confessional box.
We'll show
I
you
don't know
this
if you
here.
got that. area of the confessional box, and here, I don't even want to go down there. I don't think my knees are strong enough, but we did it the other day. It's pretty fascinating. Okay, so now when you come out of that church, or even from my uncle's house,
which is right there. That
or
was
my grandparents' house. Yeah,
that was the window right here. Zio Benito had this window right
the
there.
ones on all those three. Those are all part of the same house. And then on this side, obviously, is the rectory where the priest lives.
And actually,
yeah.
there's a picture of our great-grandparents, my great-grandparents, at this exact spot. I'm going to show you right now. So here's the door through the gate. And as you can see in this picture, these two people are my great-grandmother and grandfather. And yeah, it was kind of cool. We only recently found this gate or the location of this photo the other night when I asked a relative. So
That's cool.
it was really cool to see. To know that they kind of stood there. I don't know. It's cool.
Well, yeah, and that it hasn't changed really.
Yeah, it hasn't
that's the
changed.
Nice thing, you know, you go back. But anyway, this is the view.
Here we go. Here's the view.
That all these people come by and they watch. So you can see all the way down to the Adriatic, over to Porto San Giorgio, which is over there, where you see the marina. And then further up, very, very faintly, is the mountain of Ancona, which is another spectacular area, a riviera of that area. And then the hills behind, they're really beautiful hills driving, and they lead up to the Apennine Mountains, about 35-minute drive. You're up to about 8,000 or 9,000 feet in altitude.
And we love coming here. A lot of people take their photos up here. Today's a bit of a more low-key day, but we were here the other day, as my dad said, for our grandfather's funeral, my grandfather's funeral, and there was a lot of people taking pictures, especially at night. The whole place comes alive with tourists, and it's great. But this is the view here, and yeah, having our uncle who had that window over there was such a great spot.
I guess we're heading out of the Church of St. Mary by the sea, but we're running into the tour group that we saw before, another one.
There's another awesome view here. Really, the camera doesn't do it that much justice. It's a shame. Okay, now we're walking
All
through
these people. Now
the
we're going to
group
go
here.
to the left. So we were here at my mother's house, and around the corner was my dad's place. Now we're going to head down a walk, very short walk, to where I was born, down here.
Oh, down here.
Yes. So you can see that everything is very close. You were literally a shout away from everybody. You didn't even have to run to them. You just yell and somebody would hear you anywhere in town. So if you're related, they'd recognize your voice. Anyway, now these are the stairs that I think you were talking about here. Now it may have been a little different, but I believe that these are the stairs. Now this is
Let's
the
see.
Piazza Milone.
I think you're right too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to stop this and see if I can get the shot. So this is where my grandparents did their procession after they were married. And yeah, it was really cool. It's too bad this car is here, but I think we still got the gist of it. Okay.
And then turning around, this is where I believe they had the reception in this building. Now it's used, I don't know how often it's used there. I don't know, they store things in there. It's part of the municipality.
Oh, it's
you.
Hey. Okay.
Okay, so here.
Okay. We ran into some cousins of ours
Cousins,
who are leaving, and they might be watching this. Hey,
yeah, they may end up watching
ciao,
this. Anyway,
Tommaso.
so I was saying that this is, and apparently this is very deceptive because of the steep cliff here.
Yeah.
This is 5 stories in height. There are 3 stories below. The bottom floor, which is at the base, is a little theater.
Oh,
So
okay.
actually,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was just told that. This is my area here. This is heading down, and this is really nice because there are only 2 houses down this way. Torre di Palme basically ends on this particular street down here, at the house where I was born. I was born on the 2nd floor actually, but we own the whole house, as well as all these olive groves back here. This is an entire lot, I guess, or property of olive groves. Now they would not allow them to take these down. Some of these olive trees are more than 500 or 600 years old, from what I've been told.
Yeah.
And I believe it if you look at the bark.
Yeah.
And they still make very, very good olive oil. My cousins do
I
that.
hear them in there.
Anyway, so there it is, up on the 2nd floor where I was born, right behind the church. It wasn't far for me to go for
So you were born
the
right up.
altar boy.
You were born right up there.
Right up there. That's where my uncle Filippo, the one who fell out of the olive tree, he fell out of one of those. I can't remember which one. So as I said, my cousin lives here now. We come to visit them periodically. They also own all the land down here. Well, we all used to. I guess now it's been transferred over to them. But so they have gardens down here. Not gardens, but you know, they're growing all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Fruits, vegetables.
I know,
whatever.
it's so nice.
Yeah.
I got a few shots of
it. It has
it.
the south exposure. See,
Yeah.
here's a fig tree. I mean, I'll come back here and rip off some figs.
I know, and now the real problem right now is that we're
running late.
We're running late. We have to go because we're heading back to Canada. We have to go get our COVID shot.
And I can't even
or
speak
not
of-
COVID shot, our COVID test.
Test.
So we're gonna do we're gonna wrap this up.
This is really fast. We can't even
My mom
talk
and
about
brother.
this structure here, which is like a lookout tower. Okay, and that's that building I was telling you goes 5 stories, so you can see from the 2 to 5. I remember as a kid, especially as a little kid, you know, the older adults would have me swear at that poor farmer across, yell at him, and tell him to go and
Yeah.
yourself. Anyway, this
In
is my
Italian.
aunt's house here, but we're not going to stop here. Not today. I'll come
Dad,
back
walk on
for
this
her.
side of me.
Yeah, walk down here. But you see, everybody along here has this spectacular view into this gully. Anyway, this is all being rushed. I'm going to, you can talk briefly about this because Marcella's Pizzeria, where we
Marcella's-
go for everything, in through here. I'm going to go and get them. Okay,
Oh, you're gonna
you
get
know?
them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, is this fine?
Yes. Okay.
As I head up to the next street, and then we'll see you down there.
Where, at the main square? Okay, so my dad had to run. Like I said, we have to go get our COVID test right now because you need it 72 hours before our flight back to Canada. My family's waiting for me, but finally we're here in the main square again. This is where there's a pizzeria owned by Marcella, and we did a huge family pizza kind of party after my grandfather's funeral right in the main square here, and it's really nice. Okay, we're at the car right now. My parents are waiting for me. We are late for our COVID swab test before flying back to Canada, but here is Torre di Palme. Thank you so much for watching. My dad is in the car and my family and a car is coming to see me. Anyways, all the best. Bye everyone, thanks. Come and visit. Bye.